Hey everyone, Mr. Owlman8 here, with a What If segment. What if Blaze and Roxy were the Beast Morpher Rangers? So for context, in episode 1, Blaze and Roxy were turned evil by the main antagonist, Evox. Then many episodes later, there was an episode called Rewriting History, where Blaze and Roxy had a device to brainwash Grid Battle Force and to an extent the city into thinking that they never became evil and instead became the Beast Morpher Rangers. Until the device was destroyed. So with that out of the way, let's explore what would happen if Blaze and Roxy really were the Beast Morpher Rangers. Now, given how similar Blaze and Roxy can be compared to Devin and Zoe, some things, aka the stories, can be played out roughly the same way. There are many parallels to them. For example, both Roxy and Zoe care about the environment. Blaze and Devin have attitude problems, including aggression. Zoe and Roxy and Devin and Blaze also have similar fighting paralysis and intelligence, even though they can go about things differently. So to save time, I will only be pointing out the major differences, and everything else will be glossed or skipped over. But rest assured, Blaze and Roxy will be in these scenarios. So keep that in mind as we move on. Beasts Unleashed. Okay, so in this episode, everything is played out like it did before. Until we get to the part where Devin warns Grid Battle Force, which will lead to Nate catching on much sooner, and in turn disconnect the link to the chambers. This would mean that the free recruits haven't become Rangers yet. Devin and Zoe would still show up because an alert was still made, and this is where things can be tricky. Now at this point, Evox as a threat will differ, unless he can find 2 other people to become evil Rangers. Luckily for him, it is possible to do that. For those who may be wondering, would Devin and Zoe be those evil Rangers? Well, Evox could project out of the computer/tank of Morph X like a snake in the grass. And with the free recruits keeping their distance, plus Devin and Zoe not knowing the full situation, it's plausible for Devin and Zoe to be the evil avatars. Since we never see evil Blaze and Roxy have cheetah speed or jackrabbit hopping powers, respectively, the lack of animal DNA for the alternate evil avatars shouldn't be an issue. Whether the Evox virus affects our alternate heroes, well, either Evox gave it to the Rangers during a fight, or a bit snuck in during the brainwash attempt. Regardless, Blaze and Roxy will later become Beast Morpher Rangers, and they save the day in roughly the same way it originally happened. As for the avatars and their human doubles, keep in mind the Evox virus can't cope well with human DNA. So the doubles would still happen. That said, would the comatose doubles be teleported to the cyber dimension, or would the Rangers be able to salvage them? I can see Nate salvage the doubles while the Rangers fight, so let's go with that. Evox's Revenge. Since the recruits already know each other, we will skip the formalities. The Beastbots would also be introduced, and whether they play out the Who's the Leader subplot, Blaze would of course be set leader. Blaze would also have issue fighting Devin, since he is a formidable fighter, as established in episode 1. This would also make Devin an obstacle for Blaze both personally and business-wise. Blaze may also feel remorse to what happened to him. Oh, and one other thing, a bit that can work is Blaze gets annoyed by Ben and Betty, but changes his tune just a tad once they save him from a Tronic, while being frozen by a dog, just like with Devin's situation. End of the Road could still be played the same way, but with Roxy trying to convince the mayor instead of Zoe. Roxy has been known to be concerned about the environment, so it wouldn't be much of a stretch for her to take Zoe's spot. Maybe even continuing her work, though Roxy's methods would likely differ. Digital Deception. You could explore Ravi and Roxy's relationship as Rangers. but the plan to brainwash Ravi would not happen. Unless Cyber Devin and Zoe think they need a new ranger on the team. Maybe they can trick Nate into helping them to an extent, but that would depend on how Nate and Zoe felt at the time. Taking care of business. At this point, I should bring up Mayor Daniels and his concern about his son becoming an evil avatar. The mayor would know one way or another, and would be mad at Grid Battle Force given the circumstances. But hopefully the mayor will calm down by witnessing the good the Rangers are doing, like saving a little girl from being sliced in half. Also, the Rangers would be getting right to business instead of delays with helping Devin at Sudsies. As a matter of fact, I can see Cyber Devin treating his missions like a video game, and even making video game references here and there. Hangar Heist. This could be a Blaze-focused episode where he needs to calm down given his hot-headed persona. Speaking of, there would be tension between the Free Rangers' attitudes, and Blaze's feud with Devin, knowing he has a hard time beating him. So the Rangers' morale could run low down the line, but also likely resolved. Okay, before we blitz our way through this next part, after skipping a friend indeed, most of Nate's story arc would be the same with the exception of his relationship with Zoe. But you could hint that she likes Nate, with Cyber Zoe flirting around with him throughout the series. Maybe. At this point, Steel's creation would still be at play due to Scruzzle's plan for Evox, as well as the events of Steel's story arcs. The data chip plotline would also be at play, as well as Vargoyle showing up. Skipping frills and drills, we move to Tools of the Betrayed. Might be a don't jump to conclusions moral for Blaze, but it would need a new drive since Blaze isn't known for playing video games, unless he uses a VR headset for training purposes. Skipping Real Steel and Tuber Triumph, once we get to Sound and Fury, things will be very different. This is because of Zoe and Nate's relationship, which means Megan can't blackmail Zoe in order to get the lab job. Unless Roxy and Ravi start to spend time with each other and Megan blackmails them for leverage. Of course, this would mean we get a Ravi and Roxy story arc with a dash of Nate, with Ravi and Roxy restarting their relationship. Though something tells me that will end very badly for Megan, given, threatening Commander Shaw's son's career. Anyway, regardless of how it all goes, there would still be the intro to the Fury Cells, and this would follow up with Seeing Red. With Blaze using the Fury Cells, he would want more so he can get the edge on Devin, as well as powering up Red Fury mode. This can definitely go the same way as the original. Guerrilla Art. Ravi's secret passion for art can still be explored, but it'd be done differently since Roxy would be there to support him, and how Smash finds out may differ as well. That aside, the Rangers would know at the end of the episode. Ranger Reveal. Yeah, since Zoe wouldn't be around to know about the scoop or try to convince her mum not to post the Rangers' identities, it's very possible that the Rangers' identities would be revealed. That is going to be a major change in this scenario. There may be ways it could be prevented, but the Rangers would have to know beforehand, then call Grid Battle Force. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen now that their identities are public. Anyway, here's the next episode. Rewriting history is going to be meta. At least that's what could happen, with the rewrite being based on how the show actually went with Devin and Zoe being Rangers. Of course, that would mean Blaze and Roxy could be considered evil avatars, whether they think they are or not. Or they're just employees at Grid Battle Force. Either way, Steel would foil the plans, but would have to go a different route, such as convincing Blaze differently than he would with Devin. Also, where are the other Beast Bots in all this? They could be useful. Vargoyle would still be destroyed, and the Mega Transporters would still be taken. As for the sabotage of the stasis pods, could still be a thing. Now, the memory pulsator device could still be used again to hide the Rangers' identities, but that's an iffy way to set things right. That said, many of the Rangers have their identities public, so it probably wouldn't be all that bad. Target Tower. So all 5 Rangers would probably be together, with Zoe being in grave danger. Meaning, the conflict between Ravi and her mum wouldn't happen. But Nate being the one concerned for Zoe is plausible. Also, Devon won't be with his father for the re-election speech, so no conflict between them. Or at least not with the real Devon. But the findings of the transporter and the Tronics attack would still run its course. Once the Rangers have the van, Ravi would likely follow the plan to transport the goods to Grid Battle Force. But Cyber Devon and Cyber Zoe could still manage to flat out rob it. So the fight would still occur, but would Cyber Zoe be beaten in time? The thing is, we don't know the exact time limit with the real Zoe's condition. I can see Nate show up to help Ravi defend the van and beat Cyber Zoe, after or while the other Rangers would fight off that Giga Drone attacking the tower. Either way, Zoe would be in critical condition. Also, Cyber Devon would be clever enough to transport the van right after our heroes defeat Cyber Zoe. As we later get to the mega transporters found by Ben and Betty, again, the mayor could show up, maybe to check the progress of the Beast Morpher Rangers, or he wouldn't show up at all. But let's say he did. He would be shocked to see an evil avatar in the form of his son up close and personal. Evox would still get the Morph X tower, and either Cyber Devon captures Blaze or the mayor. Either way, both would wind up in the cyber dimension in the next episode. Evox upgraded. Now, if Blaze is the one getting captured, either the mayor gets involved like he did originally, or if the mayor gets captured, then Blaze feels responsible for what happened and tries to rescue Devon. Regardless, one would rescue the other, and the events would roughly be played out like last time with Devon saved. Scrozzle's Revenge. No major difference there other than altered clip shows. Hypnotic Halloween. Maybe having Viking Roxy, and likely Blaze may discover the spirit of Halloween, unless he has already. Okay, so for Season 2, throughout the series, Devon will be in less episodes because he's not a Ranger, though he might get a job at Grid Battle Force. Zoe will still be around because she still works at Grid Battle Force, as well as her involvement with Nate. Ravi and Roxy would be more closer, but they would become a couple much later. And Blaze would be more into martial arts, as Devon is into video games. Believe it or not. So like last time, but with the obvious differences, like Nate and Zoe being a couple, and Devon possibly getting a Grid Battle Force job. What kind of job? Whatever Ben and Betty are doing, I guess. Save Our Shores. Roxy would get more focus and screen time as a character, and Scrozzle would scan Devon and Zoe to create robo-clones like he originally did with Blaze and Roxy. Game on. This would likely have Devon and Robo-Devon meet face to face. Now, the Free Rangers could be there to support Devon, or it could just be Zoe, Nate, and Steel. Either way, Gamertron will be made, and all 5 Rangers will fight Robo-Devon and Robo-Zoe. Plus, the real Devon will have some screen time. Artist Anonymous. Roxy would be more involved this time round, either helping Ravi's secret and or having Ravi's back. Cruising for a bruising. Maybe Blaze would be more involved and possibly be aggressive with Cruz perhaps, but we'll really care for him at the end of the episode. Skipping the blame game, we move on to Beast King Rampage. Zoe wouldn't be as hurt by Megan and can still be the voice of reason for Nate. Boxed in. Just tenser moments and conflict between the core Free Rangers. Secret struggle. Now, since Zoe isn't a ranger, she and Nate can date. This could lead to Ravi and Roxy's relationship, as they'd be a couple in secret. Steel could help, but Smash and Jax would also play matchmaker with Ravi and Roxy as well. They'd also likely get their respective rangers to protect the mare and prepare for the mission, thus leading to the events of the mission and the relationship being exposed. Once exposed, Nate will take over Ravi's place in protecting the mare. This way, Nate can tell Roxy about the spin saber and fend off the villains. This would in turn have Ravi save Roxy, and thus leading to the commander removing the no rangers dating rangers rule. Then the rangers find out that Evox is masquerading as the mare. The Evox snare. Devon would still be the one to find Dr. K, and maybe Blaze can help as well. As Devon searches for answers, the rangers fighting Bulldozer-tron would go as it did last time. And as that happens, Devon would get the info on the split emitters sooner. As the rangers fight the Gigadrone, Devon might find the item with the help of Ben and Betty and even Zoe. Then all 5 rangers would try and stop Evox and fail only to have Devon's plan work like it did before. After this, the real Devon won't be shown as much throughout the series. As we get to the Captain Chaku arc, most of what happens would go as it originally did, with Roxy being stung by Rajak's horn instead of Zoe. Finders Keepers. Same as last time, but with Roxy making the mistakes instead of Zoe. Skipping making bad, we move to Grid Connection. So Blaze would be given a vision message from Keeper. He might question it, he might not, and the only way I could see him leave like Devon did is if he had a karate tournament to get to. But if that doesn't happen, he's going to get that meteor one way or another. And that will lead to the events from summoning Jason to fighting the Chimera Zord. Golden Opportunity. So Robo Zoe would get a beast power-up, and could probably get it easier if she disguised herself as the original Zoe. Going ape. So Ravi and Roxy would still be together more than usual, and the misunderstanding would still occur. Now Robo Zoe would have no reason to target Ravi specifically, and she would likely target Roxy or Nate. But regardless of who she chooses, all 5 rangers will still show up, with maybe a difference in location. This will lead to the other rangers trying to calm Ravi down. And this is where things get controversial, because Roxy will get into a literal fight with Ravi. Now, Roxy could pull Zoe's stunt and throw him and herself into the drink, or something along those lines. Once Robo Zoe's gone, the rangers return to the lab. Smash wouldn't need to bring Roxy in, so the confrontation and its follow-up will happen sooner with Ravi still leaving. When Stacy shows up, the Rangers later look for Ravi. Once they get to him, his rage issue may get resolved sooner, or resolved later in the lab. Mainly because 1, that's where the painting and friendship bracelet is, and 2, Ben and Betty at the end of the episode was priceless. The Silver Switch. Robo Devon would get the Morph X boost, and a few minor details between Devon and Blaze. Fossil Frenzy. This will likely have Zoe and Robo Zoe meet face to face, and Robo Zoe will get an upgrade. And as the showdown happens, Robo Zoe would finally be gone. Crunch time. Robo Devon would disguise himself as the real Devon and giving the Rangers the databank. But he would have to try a different approach into giving Blaze the idea to trap Evox. Maybe being out of concern for others like his dad? Also, Blaze wouldn't be going to a karate tournament because of his ranger duties. It's possible that the real Devon would call the Rangers much like Blaze did, but either way, they will try and capture Evox, and this will lead up to Source Code. Aside from the showdown with Robo-Devon, a lot of stuff from the original would still play out, including the big revelation. Evox Unleashed. Since Devon and Zoe aren't Rangers, their parents wouldn't be eager to have them stay at Grid Battle Force. Of course, this wouldn't stop them from trying to help out, even though they are not Rangers, and this could lead them to a bit of a redemption arc as former villains who want to do good. Aside from that, things would roughly go the same way, especially in regards to Nate and Steel. However, by the end of that episode, Blaze may get promoted to being commander of Grid Battle Force, and Devon could get it later, maybe even have Devon and Zoe become Rangers. That said, Steel will probably have a different stunt double. And yes, it will still end with Steel's first birthday party. In conclusion, this can go all the way through Season 1 and Season 2. We explore more with the characters, and Devon and Zoe got what Blaze and Roxy didn't, such as meeting their evil counterparts as well as a light redemption arc. Also, we get some interesting changes, but in turn, we get trade-offs. It's a mixed bag between changes, similarities, and staying the same, with characters switching roles beyond the What Ifs title. And that was the segment of What If Blaze and Roxy were the Beast Morpher Rangers.